And welcome to the channel, everyone. Today, I have got a very special AMA for you all. I have with me Caveman from Polemos, also representing Hype, I suppose. I can see that in his little name tag there.
Oh, alright.
But you guys probably know Caveman very well by now. He is a proud ICC member and the IMC liaison. He works on the Illuvium Council alongside myself, does a lot for this community, makes some really great content. You probably know him better as a content creator than as a Polemos representative, but we're going to cover a little bit of both topics, mostly focusing on Polemos, because if you're not aware, Polemos just released a brand new, I want to say, service that's going to help out the Illuvium community immensely. But I also want to learn out more about what's happening next with these products, what's coming next in the pipeline, and just where Polemos goes from here, because it's being slept on a little bit. Like, there's a lot of focus around like Xborg and Lizard Labs, but Polemos is this third one, and it's finally coming in swinging with some brand new products for us to test out. So very exciting. How's it going today, man?
Wow, well, what an intro! Thank you so much for that. That feels really good. I mean, it's going great. I mean, we launched the platform yesterday. Already have over like I think it's 700 assets being listed. I know that I'm trying to list mine too, and it's just a really exciting time because if you guys are familiar, Polemos has been around since pretty much the launch of Illuvium too. I mean, a lot of it was founded by people who were just really active in the community, and then they were like, we're going to make a guild, we're going to build something off of this, and all the hype around general GameFi. So yeah, no, it's really exciting to be at this point, and we have a fun tournament coming up, and we got the holidays coming up too. Like it's just a great time of the year. I'm just so pumped, and we're just having a good time.
So, on that note, just to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about Polemos? But I really want to hear about kind of its origins a little bit. Like, how many people work for the company now? How much of the focus is on this lending platform as opposed to the content creation side of the business?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've had a pretty big development team actually on in the back. Unknown people that have been working. We have roughly about 20 people working for the company and or the DAO, I should say. And a lot of them have been just pretty much setting up for GFC Galaxy Fight Club. That was our first one, launched on Polygon over a year and a half ago. So we've already had our lending and leasing service ready and available. We have recently taken that down just because there was unfortunately not enough significant traffic to maintain that service. But we've always been on standby for Illuvium, and we're planning on doing a Futureverse launch soon, which is going to be on the Root network. And then we have several partnerships we've announced recently. So you can expect us to be all over the Web3 ecosystem with a lot of the major games that are coming out soon. But the team that originally founded it were people who were looking at like Axie Infinity and just seeing how expensive it was to get in. Like you'd have to pay $1,000 for the 3 assies to get a team, and it would just be way too much to really try and for a traditional gamer to come into space. And so they're like, all right, we need to figure out a better way to help onboard. And that's the real mission is how do we onboard people into it? And back then, esports was the main thing. And so they were planning on, driving people into the ecosystem by helping rent assets, these expensive assets that you need to use for the esports tournaments. Maybe like a Ramfire that'd be $1,000 for like a $40 million tournament. These big tournaments that used to be announced, and so they just decided, okay, let's pull some money together. And let's start building a platform that's got a focus on nice asset management. The esports side, we want to have a university and content side, and that's where I've been more focused as of recently. And really just try to be that onboarding and help be that catalyst to bring in the next wave of gamers. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah. There's so much going on. I think we'll start delving a little bit deeper into it now. Now, the main thing we're going to be talking about today is the lending platform. So we will cover that off first. And as you guys can see here, you can jump right on the polemos.io website. Very, very easy. Go play on the Forge. I don't know why it's play, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. You can connect your wallet and all the rest of it. See all the Illuvials listed. A is for Ace, so it's right at the front. But you can filter, I noticed today, by a bunch of different things. Looks like there's 4 behemoths. There's 2 Jotuns for a pretty low price, 0.70 17 cents for 4 hours, and 2 seers are set up here. I don't know what stats they have. I think that would be a big thing I would like to see improved, but really, really cool. Now, I haven't actually used it yet. Now, I did connect my wallet and all that, but I'm going to ask you as if I hadn't. But I haven't actually properly used the platform yet. So let's jump into it. So individuals can jump onto the Polemos website and they can pay an hourly rate to borrow Illuvials. As we saw there, it was like 17 cents for 4 hours. What do they actually use to do this? Do they use their passport? Can they use a MetaMask wallet? Or how does it all work?
Yeah. So, you know, as I mentioned earlier, our main mission is to help onboard that next wave of gamers into the ecosystem. So we want to make that as seamless as possible, where someone can come in and they can pay with credit card. So if you actually go back to the site, you could click borrow just to feel it out, or maybe you'd need to connect your wallet. I can also screen share if you ever want me to. And if you click borrow, just one of the assets below.
Oh, right.
You'll be able to see that you do need to connect real quick. So I don't know if you want me to share my screen real quick, but you can see that we have credit card functionality already implemented. So you can literally already go in there. A user doesn't even need to have a wallet. They don't even need to have assets, and they can come into the ecosystem and start playing Illuvium. If they wanted to rent out for, yep, there you go. And so you can click pay with debit or credit card. That already works. You can choose up to 4 to 12 hours or 24 hours. And then you can also click days, and you can go up to 7 days. This is all something that we can be adjusted later on. Right now, we just have it set there. And you'll notice that it has a set pricing structure. This is just a temporary thing. We will in the future have the opportunity for users to set up their own pricing, but you know, there's a lot of whales out there that have thousands of assets. They don't want to have to go to the floor, figure out, okay, what's the floor price for an ace, set it. So we're going to have some data analytics that are going to be automatically processing what is the best floor price for each of these assets. And then that way, eventually you'll be able to go, okay, I want to stake all my assets, one click, stake it, and then it'll process it at probably the best price for each alluvial that it can find. Obviously, there'll be people who just undercut, you know, by 1 cent. But you know, there's different ways we can work out that system. For now, we're just setting it up as here's how it's working, because Leviathan, let's face it, it's not in a playable state on like a competitive level. So it's more just for fun and to show that, hey, this is how it works. Let me show you that you will always get your asset back. We have our security system in place, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later of why you should trust it. And you know, it's just set up in that way currently.
So there's a few questions on that. For anyone who didn't see, you couldn't because I hid it to protect my own identity, at least a little bit. I'm not great with it, but at least a little bit. I actually connected just using my passport wallet, and then what it did was it generated a Polemos wallet address on, I'm assuming, on IMX for me. And so if I borrowed an alluvial, it would get given to me on my Polemos wallet, I'm assuming, or the attached wallet address to my passport. How does that actually work in Illuvium? Because in the Illuvium client, you only log in with passport. You don't log in with the Polemos wallet. How does all that work?
Yes. So our Polemos wallet is also unique in, I'm not even I wouldn't classify it as a passport wallet. It's actually what I'm calling a master wallet. It has the capability to take assets from any chain that we're integrated with. And so eventually you'll have assets from the Root Network, Polygon, Avalanche, Ronin. They'll all be able to be in that Polemos wallet. And then whatever your wallet is that you're connecting, it could be the Illuvium Passport, it could be Futureverse Pass, it could be you know, MetaMask, Phantom, whatever it is, you'll be able to connect and be able to transfer those assets to your Polemos wallet. And you might be able to link several wallets or unlink and link a new one. And then this will be your main hub where then you can connect to any game from our wallet, and it'll be good to go. But now your second question, or the second part of your question was, how does that work with Illuvium? So if you're now that you're connected, if you actually go to the Illuvium page, go to your profile, and then go to account settings, you'll actually see that there's now a secondary wallet listed, and you can link multiple of these wallets and be able to, when you go into game, it'll actually pull assets from any of your secondary wallets plus your main wallet, and it'll take all of them into the game with you. So you have all the assets connected together, and so that's how that ends up working. Are you looking into your profile now?
Having a look. It's not there. Yep. Oh, but I would have to link it.
And the linking process should have worked when you were linking. Yeah, it's one of those too that's above, I believe. So you
No,
don't you
no,
don't need to
those
link it.
I know what these two are. These are my
Okay.
minimized.
Well, maybe there is a small potential that it didn't properly link. I don't know if when you were going through, have you finished the full process of?
I haven't gotten any assets yet.
Okay, so maybe you need to finish the connection process, and then it'll actually populate there too, and you'll see that Polemos wallet there as well. And I mean, if you
Very,
go
very
back to that
cool.
page, you can actually see rent with Polemos assets as one of the options on the Illuvidex there.
I like it. Very, very interesting. Okay, so that's really cool. And I like how it's going to go across multiple chains because personally, I believe that multi-chain is the future. Like last cycle was not DeFi. Last cycle was probably gaming. This cycle before was DeFi. This cycle is maybe memes or whatever. I don't know yet. But I do think the next cycle, or really the only way mass adoption comes, is when we go full multi-chain, where it's like you could abstract away things with a passport wallet. That's one thing. Abstracting away the entire process through multi-chain, I think that is the future. And I think any company that's not trying to target that narrative and that path is leaving themselves for some trouble in the next 2 to 3 years. But I think some companies will come out that'll make that easy for everyone as well. So as we...
You can you can already see that too. Like you have so many games that are now launching on multiple chains. Like Block Lords, I think, is already on 3 different chains. You've got just a bunch of games that are now trying to actually have their own services be provided to all these different different chains. So I imagine that is a meta potential.
Yeah, it's the way it's going to go. So the next thing is we could see before that when I was going to borrow that ace, my maximum I could really select was 30 days. Is that the maximum or is it going to be different in the future?
Yeah, so we'll have 2 different options in the future. Just set an amount of days. I'm sure that you can set it for as long as you want. The thing that we set up is we do prioritize the stakers, the people lending out their assets. So at any point, you can always call it back. If it's not being rented out, it'll immediately go back to your Polemos wallet, and then you can move that back to your main wallet, whatever that is. If it is being rented out, you can always end the rental period, and then they have a 12-hour grace period basically, and then after 12 hours, it'll come back to the staker, and they'll be notified. The renter will then be refunded, prorated based on how much rental time is left over. So
I
that's
see.
that's the current plan that I understand. The other possibility is that you'll have an auto renew. You could just toggle a thing. Hey, just keep renewing it. And then, if you're playing with an asset, you love it, you just want to keep it going. You click that auto renew button. You're going to be able to it'll be seamless, and you just keep going.
I like it. So as far as security goes, what's the setup here? The Polemos wallet prevents you, I'm assuming prevents you from burning your Illuvials and stuff like that. For every future collection you guys integrate, do you need to create all these rules about what you can and can't do to an asset?
Exactly, and that is where we really emphasize our security. We have a lot of smart contracts in the back end that are ensuring that there's no case where your asset does something that's unintentional. Especially, like, let's take the Overworld for example. If you had an atlas and you went into there, you were lending out your atlas, you wouldn't want that renter to go and maybe fuse it into an axon or any of your other NFTs, burning them in any way or transferring them, obviously. So we have a lot of rules and conditions that stop that. And in the future, we're going to have a guild management platform as well. And this is really where this is going to shine, because then let's say Scoriox as the guild manager for Wildfire, you want to set up a full operation with your guild, or a scholar operation. You could have, scholars that have individual rule sets that you were setting the settings for. So this guy's just a miner. He's brand new. I don't really trust him at all with any of my assets. It immediately will ship anything he mines back to the guild manager. And then maybe you have someone who you trust a little bit more. He's the crafter. So you could even have a rule that's set up that sends the asset from the miner straight to the crafter. Then the crafter mines it, crafts a nice weapon. That would be automatically shipped to the competitive player, who's then in Leviathan. And then all those rewards sent back to the guild manager, redistributed to the whole team. And then everyone's working this actual efficient operation. And that's the end goal of some of our asset management.
How long do you think it'll take to get some of that stuff? Because I really do think the scholarships infrastructure, which Illuvium obviously don't really have the time to build on their own right now, is going to be a big part of Illuvium's future.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the potential changes to Overworld, which I think everyone knows, there's going to be probably some decent changes coming up soon. We've decided to stop pushing any hard development there until we know what is the final structure look like. What are the possibilities that your NFTs will be doing? Are all the collections even going to be viable in the next mode or build, or stuff like that? So we're just kind of holding off. I think it's on our roadmap though, for Q2 or Q3 next year. So it's something that's definitely be done in 2025. It's just once we see exactly how to best set up an operation, we want to make it so it's actually usable and useful. So
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky for you guys to manage that sort of stuff as things are shifting and changing. And so I totally get that. But so the next thing I've got is you have a Leviathan tournament coming up this weekend. Unfortunately, I can't participate, but I think I read the rules and it said only borrowed alluvials from the platform are permitted. Now,
yep.
in the name of making all this accessible, here is a feature I haven't seen yet, but I wonder if there's ways to do it. Can you bundle alluvials? Can someone say rent out all the let's say there's 150 alluvials, all the 150 in one single transaction for someone to borrow that entire set? Because that, for Leviathan in particular, Leviathan Gauntlet, that is, that would be pretty important.
Yeah. So there's two major features that'll come early Q1, hopefully mid January is what we're targeting. One is having the actual stats on there. It's that was something that I've been pushing, because really the rental platform is not useful in a Leviathan sense until that's in. And but they just wanted to get it up to show that it's got use
Mhm.
cases. We're then going to integrate Futureverse next, just to show that we're omni-chain, and then we're going to start really going back to focusing on the features for each individual game and making it actually really, really valuable. And so that first one is stats, and the second one is batching. We need to have batching, because you're going to have someone who comes in who doesn't want to go through each individual alluvial. They just want to pick, okay, I want to grab the best stats for every alluvial, one click, stake everything. I imagine that's going to be a huge thing. And what will be really nice about it is you're going to have the purity system. We're gonna take the purity system that Illuvium's working on. We're gonna integrate that into our system, so it'll
Mm.
automatically show you what's the best one that you could possibly stake out, and that's what the whole plan is.
Yeah. I really like it. So on that note, the Wanderer made a comment on my tweet asking about. Sorry, the tweet was all about what questions do you have for Caveman? And the Wanderer posed a really interesting one. Basically, he wants your thoughts on how you think the overworld economy will function in the long term. And how does Polemos lending actually fit into that?
Yeah. So I imagine that the economy will work where you're going to have really, really high end late game builds or teams that
Mm,
you're trying to build up. And those can be really time uh, or like time consuming to build up.
mm.
And so you're going to have players that have a lot of free time, and they're going to be able to do the more of the grinding side of it. And so they're going to be able to move up in the whole ecosystem, or level up alluvials. And then that way these high end players can actually use that. So either you have these very grindy kind of players, they will rent out their assets to these top end players who want to use it, or the more let's say the larger wallet sized players, they'll be able to lend it out to the this grinder who doesn't have a huge wallet, so that they can actually progress up in the stages of however overworld will be working in the future. And unfortunately, I don't know what that looks like right now, but I imagine that you'll always have this two categories of people: the time savvy, the ones that have a lot of time, and then those that are time poor. And you will have this mix and match between who can rent and who won't.
Yeah, I think that's fair that, like, I think there's going to be a large competitive element to it as well. I know that question was regarding the overworld and like how are you going to use it to grind up in the overworld and stuff like that. I don't know how much lending is going to happen in regards to the overworld. I think some people will definitely borrow an asset to help them with a stage 1 run, for example, if that's what it looks like in the future. But at the same time, Illuvials are so cheap in a certain sense that it's not really worth it to borrow. So I think lending will definitely come a little bit more into play with competitive scene and stuff like that. And I can definitely see the value of like a whale having 3 full sets of high stat Illuvials, or paying a lot of people to capture these high stat Illuvials for them, and then giving them out to like 3 top players. And like, if you win the tournament, I get 50% of your winnings. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely going to be a really large component of it, but they need the Illuvials to give off to give them the best chance. And I think that's really where the economy will start to shine. But first, the tournaments need to be really compelling. And second, the game needs to be really stable. And I think the game's more stable than it's ever been, thankfully. So I'm very excited for the future. Okay. So I've already answered a lot of these. I love how you go through some of my questions when I haven't asked them yet. And I really love how the interviews kind of shake up that way. But the next one here is a question that somehow I feel like I'm the only one that asks this to people when it comes up. Okay. And that is, how does Polemos actually generate revenue themselves, and include the content creation side of things too? I don't know if that factors in at all.
Yeah. So when it comes to revenue generation, we definitely have we're taking a cut of the rental policies, and so I don't know what the exact cut is. We might not be taking any right now, but it's just for every alluvial that's being rented out, we get a small cut there.
Mhm.
Eventually, we keep talking about how our main goal is to help onboard people. Well, we're also going to have our own token swap feature on our
Oh,
platform,
okay.
and so when you come in, you're a brand new player, you rent it out with credit card, you play it out, you're like, wow, okay, I'm actually enjoying this is awesome. I want to buy some IMX, I want to buy some ILV, I want to buy all of these different tokens. We're going to have that embedded in our wallet, and so you'll be able to start actually accumulating all these different assets, or if you need it for in-game purchases, like maybe Quest for Raven Quest, or all these different just tokens to help get into the ecosystem. We'll then obviously be taking a spread on that as well. So that's two main ways there. For the guild management services, we're going to be taking a cut out of how the policies and procedures work, and directly working with the games. So let's say that this is a guild operation where you're Overworld. Well, all the fuel that you're spending, we will end up getting a percentage back from that fuel that's being sent. Or if there's other games where you have to pay to enter, we take a cut from every transaction that happens. So that's another way that we can bring in revenue. Obviously, I'm the content manager, so I don't do the revenue side too much on that, on how our actual financial system's working. But that's my general understanding of where we can bring in some of our revenue. On the content side, you can see that we're already partnering with a lot of different games. If you've really been following us, you know that we had Web 2 channels as well, and a couple of those we managed to bring 3 channels up to partner, 4,000 plus subscribers in each of those channels in 6 months. And so we showed that we're very capable at doing content, and we already had plenty of sponsorships lined up for those. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, our main goal is Web3, though. We're not trying to do Web2. That was us training to understand how to connect to audiences, how to try and do really good educational content, and then be able to bring that into the Web3 ecosystem, which we're feeling very, very good about. And so we're hoping, or we're not hoping, we already have people reaching out for sponsorships for various different games. And you'll see that we're covering a lot of the different Web3 games. And so that's where we bring in some of our revenue there. And then also on top of that, we're going to have specific university courses that are really, really fine-tuned for specific games. Let's say it's an arena course for Illuvium. That's something that maybe you would have to subscribe to be a hoplite in the Polemos ecosystem, and then you get access to these private videos. That's also something we could do in the future.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like almost making sort of like an everything app for Web3, but really kind of like business focused in a certain sense, where you're trying to get the job done and you're trying to provide value, take payment and stuff like that. And none of this like weird in the middle stuff. If you do it properly. You know what I mean? So I really like that idea. So the next thing I've got on kind of the note of your content creation is, what is actually your main plan for marketing the lending platform to the crypto gaming audience? Will the games support you in this, or do you think it'll be mostly on your own?
Great question. I think that we've noticed, or you've seen how powerful Twitter is, and you'll see that we've been ramping up our efforts there, and we've had really good traction over the last couple months. We went from 10,000 followers all the way up to like 60,000.
Mm.
So we've learned how to start tapping into that. You'll see that we're posting on a regular basis, starting to tap into the AMA scene of just mass AMAs, going to all these different influencers. We have a huge network that we're going to tap into. Right now, we're just sticking with the grassroots and influencers like yourself that are well established in these micro communities like Illuvium, and really just talk to you guys, get connected with your audience as much as we can, and then once our service is actually like fully established and set up with all the features that make it valuable, we'll start blasting out to all of these larger networks that we have and start to push them in. The other major thing is a lot of our founders are well connected with Web2 gaming. And so we have a huge well of players that we're going to start trying to push over into Web3. As soon as there is a game that is polished to the level that we think will actually retain them and is sticky, we're going to start just using our network with them. They're going to start pushing them towards us because they have stakes in our company as well, or in our DAO, and then that's how we start moving everyone over. And so we're going to build a lot of content around those partnerships. Covering the game content is always something that I think is valuable, because then people have trust that we know what Illuvials are useful. We have data analytics that kind of support that, and then that's where we just start combining all of this to really push forward.
Mm. Yeah, it's really. I didn't know you had those sorts of Web 2 connections. That's really exciting. But like, yeah, people forget that although Illuvium's not the perfect game in the world, right? It's still like one of the if not the most fun game in all of crypto gaming. Like off the grid, absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but maybe as far as strategy games goes, I have so much fun with Illuvium that I just don't have elsewhere. And finally, it's feeling pretty stable and less buggy, which is really helping as well. The bugs are the thing that make you like kill your retention. Once that sort of stuff's resolved, I think Illuvium will be a really good spot. And then there'll be lots of marketing from all sorts of different people, yourself included. And I think that's really exciting for the future of the game. So now let's talk a little bit about the content creation before we get onto the future of Polemos. So the lending platform isn't what I personally currently know Polemos for. Can you tell me about, you mentioned it a little bit before, but can you tell me about some of the past content creation ventures? It started off in Web3, and then kind of where did it go from there?
Yeah, so we were in Web3, and we were just getting started. So let's break down also just me in general. I started as an esports manager, so like I
Hmm.
came from playing at the top level for TFT, StarCraft, Halo. I've been competitive gamer my whole life, and so I came in when the idea that esports was still going to be massive in 2022 and into 2023. Unfortunately, as we saw, none of those promises were really met by any of the gaming, and I think we just had our first real big one by Off the Grid but it was still an invite-only kind of tournament. So until we have those big tournaments, the esports scene has been kind of dead. But and actually, Parallel also has a good esports scene too, I
Hmm.
would say. But we also have then so because there really wasn't any traction there. I'm like, hey, honestly, I don't even see the value of me trying to push esports here. But like, we were winning tournaments all over the place, but it was like $1,000. Like viewership was like 10 to 20 people. It was in the middle of the bear market. There was no reason. So we started just to focus on content, learning content. I moved over to the content team, and we started doing content. And I'm sure you noticed as well, during the bear market, you only have like 200 to 300 views. There's no one here either. And it was like so tough. And we couldn't even tell if we were making good content. So we decided to just go all in on Web 2 and just cover the biggest games. We're going to compete with the best influencers in the space and see if we can get numbers similar to them. And so we started off with like Baldur's Gate 3, Armor Core 6, all of these games. And we tried educational, entertainment, shorts, long form lives. We tried every form of content to see what actually connects with gamers. And what we ended up finding out is that long form content, long form content had the best success rate. And when we measure success, we meant retention and subscribers, who is actually coming back to watch future videos, returning viewers. We learned how to make incredible thumbnails that had click-through rates over 20%. And we were just really figuring out how everything worked. Then we had our first short that hit over 1 million views. Then we had our first long form that got over 200,000 views. And we were just starting to figure out what connected. And then we'd compare that to the other influencers and be like, hey, we're getting the same numbers as this guy that has 1 million subscribers. We feel pretty comfortable we're here. And then Illuvium starts announcing, hey, we're getting close to launch in mid 2024, and so we're like, all right, it's time to come back to Web3, and we have all these launches from Off the Grid, Raven Quest, a lot of these games that we're now partnered with, and so now we're full back into Web3, ready to do that same thing and try to take over the scene here.
Yeah, I mean, it just needs the players, and I'm hoping that they come because I need them views to validate my self-worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But on that, I did want to ask you about that. So obviously with my own channel, I'm not really connected to a grander business. And I have noticed I've brought in many people to Wildfire through Scoriox themselves, but Polemos is a little bit of a different beast again. Have you brought many people through to your community and through to the lending platform and all the rest of it through the content creation, or doesn't it, or do you bring them in other ways? How well does it connect?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say because we didn't have any services live, it was the actual, like, let's say click through rate or the through rate, was just very, very small. We wouldn't, there's no reason to send them. That's why we wouldn't even put a call to action at the end of our videos other than subscribe and like the video, because there was no reason to. So the short answer is I don't have any real metrics to share there. I imagine now that we have a product, as soon as let's say that stats are implemented, batching, and then Leviathan tournaments are good, I'm going to start pushing that messaging and be like, hey, if you like this video, subscribe, and then check out our Forge, rent out this, and this is going to be key for you to get to your next level in the Leviathan arena. And that's where we'll be able to start seeing, did we have transaction or some positive effort there? I will mention that during this conversation, we've had many games reach out to us wanting sponsorships. And then that is key in then setting up integrations in the future. So like a lot of games are like, hey, we love the content you do. Can you do a video on us? And we don't even charge. We're just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just, we want to cover, we want to build up these networks. And then now that people see our lending platform, they're like, hey, we want that for our game. And then it makes that communication, that channel very easy for us. And then we have investors come out of the woodworks too. And they're just like, hey, what are you guys building? You got good content. What is the Polemos platform? And so we've been able to talk to some investors through that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think people underestimate that building up a brand makes you a lot easier to talk to, and that can help you build up those connections a lot easier, especially when you have a product to offer someone. Makes it easier for you to communicate that product too, where you're just communicating it every day in all your videos and stuff like that, so people can kind of get an idea of it without having to send you a DM, and then they can go further from there. So I think it's really good. So okay,
but back to you. What's your end goal? What's the Scoriox business like? Yeah, I could say that you could probably push a product pretty easy now that you've built up a pretty good base. What are your plans? I'll throw it back to you real quick. Just
I don't really have one. I just want to help out the community and just build stuff. I like building stuff. I do eventually want to build my game, and I think using the Scoriox brand as a launch pad for that sort of thing could be really cool. But yeah, I just really like educating. I think that's really the big thing. So if I learned how to build a game and now I'm pretty competent at game design and stuff like that, I might make videos on that because I think that would be fun for me to do, So yeah, there's not really a whole lot of an end goal. I'd like to, working from home would always be nice. Just like the commute's the killer. That's the only thing I hate. I actually really like I actually like working in an office, but the commute, oh my God, just kill me now.
I lived in LA, so I really understand it. I work entirely from home and it's amazing.
I don't know what it's like in LA, but in Australia, it's particularly bad because we all have to live really far away from the city so that we can afford housing because we have like the most insane housing crisis. But yeah, okay. So the future of Polemos. Okay, so Kieran's been making a lot of tweets recently about like, should we go to Bay? Should we go to Ronin? Should we go to ZKVM and all that sort of stuff, right? How difficult actually was it for Polemos to build out the IMX tools and smart contracts and that sort of stuff? And say Illuvium went to ZKEVM, would it be easy for Polemos to build out the ZKEVM infrastructure, or how does that all work?
Yeah, honestly, it would be really, really nice if they moved to ZK EVM for us.
Mm.
Because it's on the legacy chain, it's actually been a lot more issues because then we also have to coordinate with IMX as well. And I think once it's on ZK EVM, which we're already have plans to integrate
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of our partners that are on ZK EVM for IMX, and that's really where we're going to be focusing just a lot of our efforts, anyways. And so I think it's safe to say there's going to be a few games from the IMS ZKVM that'll be integrated in the near future. So
Great, I love to hear it. Hopefully, Guardians, Guild of Guardians would be really cool. So, all right. The next one is a Polemos coin. For anyone who didn't notice on the website, you can actually see, let me quickly go back. You can actually see the PLMS token that's being referenced here in that little teaser there. Tell me everything you need to know. What is the Polemos? When is it coming? What's it for? Because we've seen Lizard Labs and Xborg eventually launch a coin to back their ecosystems, but they built up the ecosystems first, which I very much prefer. And you guys are doing that right now. So I love that. What would the Polemos token be for?
yep. So when was the first question? That's coming Q1 2025, so it's coming around right around the corner. That's why we're trying to push these two game integrations just to show, hey, this is how it works. Now imagine if we have 10 hundreds of games linked together. What will this ecosystem look like? So that's coming up very soon. And what's its use case? So I think I mentioned earlier that we're planning on having a token swap capability on our platform and all in our wallets. You'll be able to use PLMS for a variety of different things. You can use PLMS to rent out any of your assets, to pay your scholars. It'll work in our entire asset management platform. It can be used to just be that intermediary. I can't say that word. Between different tokens on different chains. So then you just need to own PLMS and you can buy any token from any chain. And that just makes the process a lot easier. Honestly, there's a lot more utility that's coming that hasn't been announced. And I think my more of a question for the CEO. And maybe once we get closer to the TGE next quarter, I could definitely have him do an interview with you potentially, and then that way you guys can really talk about what's going to make the PLMS token really cool.
Okay, so the PLMS token is not just one aspect, all right? Everyone and their dad or mom or whatever also has an NFT collection. Does Polemos already have something that I don't know about, or are they going to be coming out with something, even if it's something simple?
We have a collection. It's not public. It's a private. We already created it. I think. I don't know if we're going to use it. It's the Polemos Universe NFTs. We used to have a plan for really big aspirations of building this really cool lore around the Polemos gods and a lot of stuff around that. So we did have some NFTs there, and then that would be more of like just a loyalty NFT. If you're active in our community, you build up your ranking. You'll see a lot of the OG Poleminians. They have badges next to their name in our Discord, like all the way up like different rank structures, like up to Brigadier General and stuff. Those were also their own NFTs that you could collect just to show your chat level, how much you've integrated with our university content, or how much you've rented or staked. There's going to be a whole bunch of different conditions that qualify you for those NFTs. I don't have any real knowledge on what the use case could be for those. We might bring them back in 2025, but as of now, I don't have anything else to say on that.
I like it. I think that could be really fun. And I have a question about that a little bit later, but we'll get into that in a minute. The first thing is, and this goes for all games, but for Illuvium specifically, let's say, are there any plans to actually integrate the lending platform within the Illuvium client? Or better yet, like you run around in the overworld and you go up to a screen and it's got your lending platform and all the interface and everything like that.
That would be really, really cool. Obviously, a lot of these Web3 games are, mostly startups, and they have hard deadlines that they're pushing. A lot of them are a little bit past their deadlines that they've already stated in prior AMAs. So I don't think that in the near future any of them will be reaching out to us to have that as an integrated feature in their game. But potentially in the future, when they're more established and everything set up, I could easily see us working with them to get it properly integrated. Or even, I could see us, being more of a white labeling our rental system to different games and stuff if they do want to try and integrate it into their game on their own, and then we just share our technology, our security functions with them, and they're able to integrate it. So there's a couple different ways that we can that's another possibility for revenue generation, but different ways we can make it work.
Yeah, I really like the idea of a white labeling solution for this sort of stuff. And I think, yeah, I really just know that this sort of thing is important. For a Web 2 gamer does not want to go to a website when they're playing a video game. They don't even know that that game has a website. I don't know if anyone's visited the GTA 5 website that has played the game. Like if there's a website, they don't need it, is the point there. And so I think this sort of abstracting away stuff is going to be a really big deal come 5 years time for crypto gaming in general. So I got two left. So the first one is, and we talked about it a little bit with your hoplites and your NFTs and your legionnaires and stuff like that, about ranking up and things like that. Are you going to have any other sorts of gamification assets in the platform at some point, such as ranking up leaderboards, any PvP sort of stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, so right now we actually have a Discord Telegram bot game you can play. It's actually, I've been forgetting to bring that up in the other AMAs. So if you're watching this AMA, you're getting the inside scoop here. If you go to our Twitter, you can find we've made an announcement about our Discord Telegram bot back right at the start of Futureverse, actually. And you can play. It's one of those silly tap games where you tap, you get energy, and you can make tokens or gold coins. Depending on how well you position, and it's also a questing platform. So like liking and following our different social medias will give you additional gold. And then depending on how well you place on the leaderboard, you will get PLMS tokens. So there are a PLMS allocation, I should say. So that's one way we're gamifying, getting into the ecosystem. In terms of other assets, currently we don't have anything planned, but that is a very good idea. We will have an airdrop campaign going up into the TGE, so that if you're interacting, you're renting, you're using our guild management, all of that will accumulate airdrop points, and then you'll also get an allotment, similar to what ETH Lizards did. And really, actually, I'm looking ETH Lizards and how well their airdrop went, especially the idea that it's not just going to be, okay, I got 100 airdrop points out of 1,000,000. I get 100 divided by 1,000,000 percentage of the pool. We're going to do that chest loot box kind of opening. Every 100 points, you get a loot box. And then in that loot box, you might have an opportunity to win $1,000 of PLMS, something actually substantial instead of like a couple dollars. Because I hate, I just, it feels bad when you spend many hours on something and then you get a couple dollars. Like it's like nothing. And so I think that having that larger reward feels better. But I'd love any advice or thoughts from the community or you, Scoriox, on what your thoughts are on those two different ways of an airdrop structure.
I love a good raffle. I definitely think you need to reward those that actually care about the ecosystem. The problem is when you go with like the full questing thing, you don't necessarily get that. You get all the people that are just every single day they're logging on, doing all the quests, and then turning it off and coming back the next day.
True.
When the airdrop happens, they're gone, right? Like they couldn't care less. They're not actually there for it. And I think questing gives people a false sense of them actually caring about your ecosystem. Now, it's hard to find ways to reward those that do care about the ecosystem. I think one way is events is really solid. Like Lizard Labs, I know, does a lot of like meme contests and stuff like that. I think they're really quite functional. Not Export. Pirate Nation is doing one at the moment where it's like, give us your best reason, best way we should distribute gems, and the best response to win something, right? And so you get those sorts of things where the only people that will succeed is those that either are already in the ecosystem or are going to take the time to learn more about it and get more involved. And I think rewarding that sort of behavior is really kind of the way I would structure it. What that looks like is anyone's guess, really, but that's just
Yeah.
how I would view it. Yeah.
And we do have ideas for that, specifically around tournaments. I mean, back
Mm.
when I was running esports, I loved hosting tournaments, and that's something that we're going to do. And if you participate in tournaments, boom, you're going to get points for that.
Mm.
That's going to be a huge contribution, and especially longer tournaments or better placement. That'll give you a larger allotment, I would say. So
Yeah, but I don't know if you guys, because you guys will have the guild management set up in the lending platform, but like, not that I want to spend a ton of money on it because I don't have a ton of money to spend, but I'd love the idea of having my own little esports team where I've got like a bunch of people that are keen to play the game, and I give them some fuel or whatever so they can go out and grab a bunch of Illuvials and level them up and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, you level these up, you level these up. And then eventually I've got this pool of Illuvials, and I'm like, okay, I've trained you all up in Gauntlet. Go out and play in this 500-person tournament. I'm going to give you a team, you a team, you a team. Good luck. Bring home the win. I'll make them up little jumpers that says Scoriox on the back. I love
awesome.
I love the idea of doing something like that, and like even if I do it as Wildfire as well, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I think that could be a lot of fun. Obviously, as long as it's not too expensive, but I think that would be a lot of fun just to see how it works. But you need the tools to be able to do that. Right now, there isn't anything. And I don't know exactly what Polemos' future is going to look like with the guild management structure, but hopefully it has all the tools I might need to be able to pull something like that off. Because right now, you can borrow assets, but you don't really have the option to send out workers or scholars, right? You don't have the option to go like, here's some fuel, level these up. Once you've done that, you get bonus fuel or something. I don't know. I don't know what it would look like, but it needs that sort of interaction for me to be able to like take that next step. And I don't know if the team's working on that right now, but that's just kind of what's in my head. So the last question I've got for you, and I know that you're into this stuff, so I'm really curious about this, is Polemos or yourself planning on building any crypto games yourself?
Yeah, so it's always been on our roadmap that we would take all of the learnings that we had to make a game. But first we have to make our business model work currently. So
Mhm.
until that happens, there's no plan, no set timelines from a Polemos side of things. So that's answer there. For me, myself, and I am literally starting Sunday. I'm on leave for 2 weeks, and all I'm going to be
Mm.
doing is working on a game I'm developing. So I love crypto gaming. I think that there's so many ways that you can make an immersive game if you add the NFTs in correctly. And so I'm going to try and just make my own. It's going to be some nasty, not even AA game, but it's going to be something that, I made and I'm going to be proud of. I mean, if you've been following Polemos for a long time, you probably saw a couple videos back in 2023 March where I flew to London from Austria just to go to an IMX hackathon because I wanted to connect with the IMX
Mm.
team and wanted to just make my own game too and make some content around it. And so I made runner up from a 24-hour
Mm.
dev contest. So I think I have the fundamentals to do something with it. I've got this huge game design document I've been working on for like 3 years, and then I added the crypto elements and AI elements in within the last year. And so I think it's going to be a fun game to start. And I'll start sharing some stuff probably after I get back from my leave. So
It's so funny. Like, we're gonna nerd out here, so I'm sorry to the audience, but um, I've been going the opposite direction. I've still got like my desperate need to build my own game and that specific game that I'm working on. And you guys might have seen it from the devlogs. But I've rekindled my love for gaming this past 2 weeks. And that's because I bought a Steam Deck. And it's given me this newfound appreciation, not only for indie games, but for single player experiences.
Yep.
I was always a big multiplayer guy. And I'm like, you need multiplayer in every game to make sure it has an end game. But now I'm just like, I just want to play a game and just enjoy it, have fun. And I don't really care about playing multiplayer anymore. I don't know. Like, it's so weird. But Illuvium is a bit different. I really love the Gauntlet. I think it's so much fun. But maybe I just hate 1v1 multiplayer or something. I don't know. But just I've been playing Path of Exile 2, and then through the family sharing thing, my brother had Balatro, and I gave it a shot. And I'm like, this is sick. And like I could see how one person made this. It probably took him like 3 or 4 months. Like it's got like a lot of attention to detail on the small stuff, but the actual core game loop probably took him like a week. I mean, besides the actual iteration, like it would have actually taken him a week to put it together had he had the final recipe already. You know what I mean? But it just gave me this newfound appreciation for just a game that just does what it needs to do. And now I don't want to like ever build a game that doesn't have a single player experience. Even TCG Pocket has all these solo battles you can do against the AI opponents, and you don't need to play against another player ever to still get a full experience. And I really like that idea. I know Illuvium's going to be going down that road a bit more with the Overworld as well, so that excites me as well. But just I just want a full experience without needing blockchain or crypto or anything involved.
You made an assumption there though that you can't make a good crypto game that's single player. I'm not. Maybe not an assumption. Maybe what I'm trying to build is actually a single player experience. A nice
that's exciting
RPG, classic. Like I grew up in like the era of JRPGs where all I would do is just be that nasty, grungy, nerdy gamer that literally had no friends, and I would just play my PS1 games and PS2, and that was the games I loved growing up. And so I want to bring those back, and I want to make one in crypto, and I've come up with a model that I think is going to be really, really cool, and it's going to make the game feel even better to have those crypto elements integrated.
Yeah, so yeah, basically I've got this newfound appreciation for those old school games and what they've really achieved. And I don't know if my tastes are changing as I get older. I think that's mostly what it is. I was never a big Diablo guy, but Path of Exile 2 has been awesome. So yeah. So
there's also Witcher 4 coming out next year. Oh, I am literally like just cannot wait.
I'm just excited for Monster Hunter Wilds.
Nice.
We got Wild, Civ 7, and Witcher all in 1 year. Thank God I have a Steam Deck. That's all I could say. All right. Is there anything else you want to leave us off on about Polemos or anything before we wrap it up?
I would just say if you could please, go to our website, check out the Forge. If you have Illuvials, get them staked. We do have the tournament this weekend. I mean, we're giving out like $960 just so players can rent. So if you stake your assets, you're going to earn a little bit of yield there, potentially. And then if you want to play in the tournament, register. Let's get you in. Let's have a good time. It's going to be crazy. If you're not even that good in the game, you might have a really good opportunity to win, because you might get a perfect stat 60 level 60 Atlas. They can just 1v6 the enemy team. You never know. So it's going to be more of just a fun tournament, and I hope that people do that. So
yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I wish I could make it. I would love to be in a Leviathan tournament. I hope they fix up some of the balancing. It won't be for this one, I don't think, but I'm looking forward to that as well. And they are actually working on it for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. It's always fun to chat. Really, I can't wait to see what happens with Polemos. I'll be keeping a closer eye on it. Don't worry. Yeah, have a good one.
Well, thank you so much for hosting. It really means a lot, and giving us a platform just to talk to some of the